Detailed Summary Report. U.S. Economic and Foreign Policies under former President Trump. In-depth analyses. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take a closer look and provide a deeper analysis of the United States' prominent economic and foreign policy moves under former President Donald Trump. This information, sourced from various news and analysis outlets, presents a multifaceted picture of efforts to attract investment and reshape international relations. Massive international investment commitments and a new economic vision. One of the key highlights was former President Trump's announcement of unprecedented large-scale investment agreements. According to reports, Saudi Arabia planned to invest up to $600 billion in the United States. This investment would span multiple sectors, including defense contracts, joint technology development between the two nations, investment in artificial intelligence, AI, and energy. The former president once stated, "The miserable economic days under the previous administration are quickly giving way to the greatest economy in world history. We are booming." He also painted a vision where a new generation of leadership is overcoming old conflicts, the weary divisions of the past, and building a future in which the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos. The goal is to attract trillions of dollars into the U.S., with additional projected investments from Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, UAE. From another source, TSMC was said to be investing $200 billion. During the former president's diplomatic trip, it was estimated that over $1 trillion more would be invested into the country, including purchases of American products. The former president affirmed, "Nobody makes military equipment like we do. We have the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best of everything, the best submarines." America's relationship with the Middle East was said to be on the verge of change, with numbers indicating one of the largest foreign investment influxes in U.S. history, reaching into the trillions of dollars. In fact, Qatar signed a $200 billion agreement with Boeing to purchase aircraft, the largest order in the company's history. This translates into more capital flowing into American businesses and job creation for American workers. Former President Trump painted a new picture of the Middle East: less war, and instead billion-dollar investments and partnerships. The message was clear: America is open for business, using economic prosperity to build peace and expert analyses. Charles Payne, an analyst with Fox Business, discussed how former President Trump used economic prosperity to bring peace to the world. Payne asked, "What does that do for us?" and pointed out that during the president's trip, at least 8 publicly traded companies saw their stock prices increase most sharply, with only one exception. The inclusion of corporate leaders like NVIDIA was a strong indicator. During the 4-day trip, major headlines focused on peace initiatives such as a ceasefire agreement between India and Pakistan, longtime rivals with decades of conflict. The meeting between Zelensky and Putin was also highlighted, along with Kurdish forces in Turkey abandoning their uprising and Turkey pledging to develop the region. Charles Payne commented, "Peace is breaking out in places where war used to rage. And they won't want to give him credit, but President Trump is overseeing all of this." Payne also noted that attracting investment is not difficult in Saudi Arabia or the UAE. He recalled a visit to Dubai nearly 20 years ago when it was just beginning development, and at one point housed 25% of the world's construction cranes. Someone there had realized that oil would one day run out and a new plan was needed. Even in Saudi Arabia, oil is no longer the top income source. The idea of peace as a foundation for global prosperity is really the best platform to spread wealth worldwide. And we should be leading the way, Payne said. Jonathan Honig, a hedge fund manager, observed that America's current economic model requires foreigners to recirculate and reinvest the U.S. trade deficit back into the United States. They reinvest that trade deficit into the U.S., and that's what keeps the dollar's strong, stock prices high, and money flowing for startups. That's what keeps America running, he said. He praised the former president, asserting that he was proving trade is good, foreign trade is good. Interestingly, many ETFs tracking Middle Eastern markets like the UAE, up around 11%, and Kuwait KWT, up around 16%, were performing very well. Honig said, "Look, you're trading in a part of the world that historically had some less than savory figures, not exactly respecting human rights. So to the extent that the president is modeling democracy, he's modeling capitalism, and he's bringing trade to the Middle East. I tip my hat to him." This approach is described as remarkable because other leaders feared him. That's why you saw all the pageantry and ceremony. That's why I believe the Qataris are giving him a very expensive jet, because this is no longer President Biden. And it also underscores the importance of having a strong leader, a leader who is feared on the world stage, because that's how you get a lot done. Some suggest that if such a leader had been in place when Russia was considering invading Ukraine, the outcome might have been different. Regarding Syria, the lifting of sanctions, and the former president's meeting with leader Ahmed al-Sharaf, who had once been considered a terrorist and imprisoned, including at Abu Ghraib in Iraq, was described as astonishing. However, the motto "Trust but Verify," originating from Ronald Reagan, was applied. Former President Trump is seen as someone willing to do things other leaders have not done. On relations with Israel, there were concerns that Israel was not pleased with the improvement in relations with Syria, especially as Syria's leader is seen as a villain in history. However, former President Trump declared, "I have no permanent enemies." He would give the Syrian leader a chance under conditions such as normalizing relations with Israel, expelling all foreign terrorists, and/or helping defeat ISIS. Otherwise, I don't think President Trump would have much patience with him. At the same time, former President Trump is considered the most loyal ally of Israel we've had in the White House since President Trump referring to himself. Thus, there is little concern that he would abandon Israel. One aspect praised is the shift from foreign aid to capitalism with these countries. They can put money in and benefit, and we can benefit. But it's the end of taking U.S. taxpayer money and handing it to these people. And it's the beginning of taking their money, bringing it here, and doing something mutually beneficial. And to me, that resets the entire foreign policy chessboard. And I like that. The former president would cooperate if they cooperated, and he would tell them if they didn't play by the rules. The AI race and new foreign economic strategy. Modern foreign policy is increasingly intertwined with economic and investment strategies, especially in high-tech areas like artificial intelligence (AI). One noteworthy comment is, when we're doing AI in the Middle East, that means China has a lower chance. While the U.S. is slowing down the export of older NVIDIA H100 chips to China, Saudi Arabia is getting access to top-tier NVIDIA chips. So the more we get in, the fewer chances China has to get in. That's today's new foreign economic policy. Saudi Arabia is seen as a completely new major potential market for companies like NVIDIA, Palantir, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Tesla, becoming the next key region for expansion. Many say forget about China. Saudi now wants to play in the AI game. Instead of giving and lending, the U.S. is engaging in investment. Buy some Boeing planes. We'll give you some NVIDIA chips. This elevates the competition from an economic and market perspective. A transformation is visible in the Middle East, not so different from what was seen in China from the mid-1990s to the early 2000s. The more China's economy liberalized, the richer all the Chinese people became, and of course, China's stock market took off. Thus, there is excitement over the idea that former President Trump could bring a little good Western-style capitalism to a region of the world, the Middle East, that hasn't really seen it before. Nevertheless, there are still criticisms of how women and LGBTQ people are treated in the Middle East, described as disgusting to this day. There is hope that a cultural and financial revolution might be led. Finally, the fact that Saudi Arabia after literally and figuratively turning its back on the United States while Joe Biden was in office, is now cooperating closely, is highly significant. The United States needs that investment capital to keep asset prices high, support startup companies, and facilitate real estate transactions. Regarding oil prices, Saudi Arabia has an even higher break-even point than the U.S. because they do not collect personal income tax and rely on oil revenue to fund spending. If former President Trump keeps oil prices low in the long term, they will feel the pressure and need to expand and make these investments to maintain their current lifestyle. What do you think about the U.S.'s shifting strategy in the Middle East? How do you feel about foreign nations investing heavily in America? Feel free to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on this evolving global strategy. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more in-depth global news.